There's this starfish story. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. This man was walking on a seashore. Thousands of starfish had washed up on the shore, and there was this little kid that was picking up one starfish at a time and throwing it into water. And the man goes up to him and he's like, "What are you doing? There's thousands of starfish out here." And he's like, "I'm saving them." And he picks up one starfish and tosses in the water, and he's like, "See, I just saved that one."
One of the ladies that we interviewed actually said, "This feels better than being home." What must their experiences been like at home? What kind of persecution, harassment, discrimination, what have you? What were they experiencing that this seems better?
When you hear about everything they had to do to get to that point, when you hear, for many of them, being in that institutionalized setting is a relief, in a sense, is a relief from having to walk all day long, or having to ride buses, or having to cross that river. When it seems that that institutionalization is not the worst thing they've seen, that's when you realize it's truly heartbreaking what we're doing.
At any given time, there can be up to 2,400 mothers and children detained in Dilley. We find that families who are fleeing and making this difficult journey, they do it because they absolutely have to.
Particularly disconcerting was the issue that children were being separated from their parents. I think that coming from a social justice legal services background, the horrors of the immigration system was something that I was used to hearing about, and yet this additional piece of hearing about mothers and their children really hit me at home.
When I looked around, I saw mothers and children wearing like bright red and fluorescent green colors, and I didn't know what to make of it. The whole room, it felt like, was sort of hustling and bustling, and I heard a lot of Spanish there. It felt overwhelming.
The mothers with their children there. And kind of the first thing that really struck me was just kind of the confusion on their faces, and you can tell they're just trying to figure out, like, what am I doing here? What are these people going to do for me, and can I really trust them?
And I asked her, like, where did you cross from? And she got really took her a minute to respond, and she said, "We crossed through the river." And you could tell, like, her eyes were swelling up, and she's like, "I almost drowned." And I asked her, "Did you have your baby?" Because she had a 2-year-old. I asked her, "Did you have your baby in your hands?" She's like, "Yes." She's like, "I fell and I tried to hold on to whatever was near me, but she's like, I gripped my baby so hard that she screamed because I gripped her." And part of me was like, damn, like in that moment, like as a parent, like she must have not thought of her own life. She was only concerned about the baby. As a social worker, you learn very quickly to contain yourself because it's not about you. But man, that was one of the moments where I was like, oh, like you have to breathe through that, because they need to know that you're listening and what they're saying is powerful and that it matters and that what they went through was not okay.
Her journey took 16 days, countless bus trips, hours walking. The thought of imagining her and a 2-year-old walking for 5 hours straight was just insane to me. What she was expected to do to flee to safety was not something that anybody should have to do.
And I think students are an especially valuable type of volunteer because a lot of what they experience here can tie into their studies, and they're just getting started with what they want to study and what they want to focus their career on. Many students who have learned about these issues here, I think, will continue to have a positive effect on immigration issues wherever they end up after college.
So to be able to sit there and listen and experience these complicated realities that people have because of their documentation status, to be able to experience someone who said, things are so bad where I am that I'm willing to risk my life and potentially the life of my children to attempt to make something a little bit better for them. I think that says a lot about people.
I'm so grateful that Luskin even provided something like this and provided students with such an opportunity. It is social work at its finest. This is what social workers do. This is why I decided to get an MSW in the first place.
It feels good to be here and feels good to be able to make a difference, but it also feels like it's not enough. I get to leave at the end of the day.
So it's like, it's such a huge issue and we can't necessarily change all of it, but if we can help one little starfish and throw it back into the water, then we're doing a little bit of our part. We're doing a tiny bit of work that they would appreciate.